The smell of incense hung heavy in the air as I watched the last mourners file out of the funeral home. My sister Lisa stood by the door, accepting condolences with practiced grace, her designer clothes a stark contrast to the traditional black dresses our mom would have preferred. I stayed back, arranging the flowers around our parents' photos, not ready to leave them just yet. My name is Maya Chin, and at 32, I had just lost both my parents in a car accident. Mom and Dad, gone in an instant on their way home from the restaurant they'd built from nothing. The Golden Dragon had been their dream, their legacy, the place where Lisa and I had grown up rolling dumplings and learning family recipes passed down through generations. Maya, Lisa's voice cut through my thoughts, sharp and businesslike. We need to talk. I turned to face my sister, noting how she'd already shed her mourning facade. At 35, Lisa had always been the successful one, MBA from an elite university, corporate career, perfect husband, perfect life. She'd left the restaurant behind years ago, while I had stayed, working alongside our parents, learning every aspect of the business they'd built. What is it? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I've sold the restaurant. The words hit me like a physical blow. You what? Well, technically, I'm in the final stages of selling it, she said, examining her manicured nails. The paperwork should be done by next week. Honestly, it's for the best. That place was dragging our family down for years. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Lisa, you can't sell the restaurant. It's not just yours to sell. She laughed, the sound echoing harshly in the empty room. Actually, I can. Mom and Dad left me in charge of everything. I'm the eldest after all. And let's be honest, Maya, you're not exactly qualified to run a business. Playing waitress and cook for the past decade doesn't make you a manager. Her words stung, but I refused to let her see how much. Who's buying it? Golden Crown Restaurant Group, she said, a note of pride in her voice. They're going to tear it down, build something more modern. It's a good deal, Maya. Much better than letting you run it into the ground. Golden Crown, the same company that had been trying to buy out family restaurants all over Chinatown, replacing them with trendy fusion spots that charged $30 for bastardized versions of our traditional dishes. Our parents had refused to sell to them for years. How much? I demanded. $2 million, Lisa said smugly. More than that old place is worth, honestly. Don't worry, you'll get your share. Maybe you can finally do something worthwhile with your life. I stared at my sister, really looking at her. When had she become this person? This cold, calculating woman who could stand in front of our parents' memorial photos and talk about destroying their dream like it meant nothing. You're making a mistake, I said quietly. She rolled her eyes. No, Maya, you're the one making a mistake if you think you can stop this. I've already signed the preliminary agreements. It's done. But she was wrong. It wasn't done. What Lisa didn't know, what her parents had never told her, was that I wasn't just their dutiful daughter working in the restaurant. I was their chosen successor. 3 months before the accident, Mom and Dad had called me into the office after closing. They'd shown me a hidden safe behind the old family photo, containing documents I hadn't known existed. Partnership agreements, transfer of ownership papers, everything needed to protect the restaurant from exactly this kind of situation. Your sister, Dad had said carefully, she has different dreams, different values. We respect that, but we also know she might try to change things after we're gone. This is our insurance policy. I hadn't understood then why they were so worried. Now, watching Lisa check her phone impatiently while standing next to their memorial photos, I finally did. Are you even listening? Lisa snapped, bringing me back to the present. The buyers will be doing their final walkthrough tomorrow. Try not to make a scene. I nodded slowly, letting her think she'd won. What time? 9 a.m., though I don't see why you need to be there. I'd like to say goodbye, I said simply. Let her think I was being sentimental. Let her think she had everything under control. After Lisa left, I stayed behind, looking at her parents' photos. Mom's kind eyes, Dad's warm smile. They'd known this might happen. They'd prepared for it. Now it was my turn to honor their trust. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd memorized months ago. Mr. Wong. This is Maya Chen. I need your help. It's time to open that safe. The next morning dawned bright and clear. I arrived at the Golden Dragon early, using my key to let myself in. The restaurant was quiet, the chairs still up on the tables. Morning light streaming through the front windows. Every surface held memories: the booth where I'd done my homework after school, the kitchen where Mom had taught me her secret dumpling recipe, the counter where Dad had shown me how to work the register when I was barely tall enough to see over it. At exactly 8:45, Lisa arrived with three men in expensive suits, Golden Crown executives, their polished shoes clicking against our worn wooden floors. "Maya," Lisa said, clearly annoyed to see me there. "I told you 9 o'clock. "I wanted to get here early," I replied calmly. "And I'm glad I did. There's something you all need to see before we go any further." One of the executives, clearly the leader, stepped forward. "Ms. Chen, we have a very tight schedule today. If we could proceed with the walkthrough." Actually, I cut in, "We can't." I pulled out a thick envelope and handed it to him. "These are the official ownership documents for the Golden Dragon restaurant. As you can see, I'm the majority owner." Lisa's face went pale. "What are you talking about? Mom and Dad left everything to me to handle." "No," I said, meeting her gaze steadily. "They left you the house and their personal assets, but the restaurant? They transferred ownership to me 3 months ago. Everything's legal and properly filed." The executives huddled together, examining the documents with increasing concern. I could see the moment they realized what this meant. Their deal with Lisa was worthless. "This is ridiculous," Lisa exploded. "You're lying. You must have forged those papers." "Like you forged Mom and Dad's signatures on the preliminary sale agreements?" I asked quietly. She froze, color draining from her face. "Yes, I know about that too. Did you really think they'd sign away their life's work to Golden Crown? The company they'd refused to sell to for years." The lead executive cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Ms. Chen, Lisa, perhaps we should discuss this." But Lisa wasn't listening. She was staring at me with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "You planned this," she hissed. "You've been plotting behind my back this whole time." I shook my head. "No, Lisa. Mom and Dad planned this. They knew you might try something like this after they were gone. They wanted to protect their legacy, not just the restaurant, but everything it stands for." "And what exactly does it stand for?" she sneered. "Outdated traditions? A failing business model?" "Wake up, Maya. Times have changed." "You're right," I agreed. "Times have changed. But some things, family, tradition, honor, those shouldn't change. Mom and Dad understood that. I'm sorry you never did." The executives were already backing toward the door, murmuring awkward excuses. Their perfect deal was unraveling, and they knew it. "This isn't over," Lisa warned as they left. "I'll fight this." I met her gaze calmly. "You can try. But everything's legal, everything's documented. You might want to think carefully about challenging it, especially given those forged signatures." She glared at me for a long moment, then grabbed her designer purse and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. I stood alone in the restaurant, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. This was just the beginning. Lisa wouldn't give up easily, and there would be battles ahead. But for now, I had won the first round. The Golden Dragon was safe. I walked to the kitchen, running my hand along the worn counter where Mom and Dad had spent countless hours cooking, teaching, building their dream. Their legacy wasn't just in the ownership papers or the recipes. It was in every corner of this place, in every customer who'd become family, in every tradition we kept alive. "I'll protect it," I whispered to their memory. "I promise." My phone buzzed. The morning staff would be arriving soon. There was work to be done, a restaurant to run, a legacy to preserve. Lisa might have thought she could erase our parents' dream with a signature and a handshake, but she had underestimated both them and me. Sometimes the strongest foundations are the ones you can't see, built on love, trust, and careful planning. Mom and Dad had laid that foundation. Now it was my turn to build on it. The weeks following my confrontation with Lisa brought challenges I hadn't anticipated. Word spread quickly through Chinatown about the failed Golden Crown deal. And suddenly the Golden Dragon was at the center of unwanted attention. Lisa, as expected, didn't go quietly. She hired lawyers, expensive ones, to challenge the ownership transfer. Her main argument was that our parents hadn't been of sound mind when they signed the documents, that I had somehow manipulated them. "Your sister has filed an injunction," Mr. Wong told me one morning, spreading legal papers across our usual corner booth. The breakfast rush was over, and the restaurant had that peaceful lull before lunch. "She's trying to freeze all business operations until this is resolved." I stared at the documents, my coffee growing cold. Can she do that? He shook his head, a small smile playing at his lips. Your parents were very thorough, Maya. They had medical evaluations done the same day they signed the transfer papers. They knew Lisa might try something like this. They thought of everything, I said softly, remembering how Dad always said careful preparation was as important as the ingredients in any recipe. Almost everything, Mr. Wong corrected gently. They didn't anticipate passing so soon, which means you're facing challenges they hoped you'd have them around to help with. He was right. Running the restaurant had been one thing when I was working alongside my parents. Running it while fighting a legal battle with my sister and dealing with my grief was something else entirely. But I wasn't alone. The morning after the news broke about Lisa's lawsuit, I arrived at the restaurant to find Mrs. Zhang, our oldest customer, waiting at the door. My grandson, she said without preamble. He just graduated law school. Top of his class. He wants to help. Before I could respond, Mr. Liu from the grocery next door showed up. My nephew, he announced. He's an accountant. He'll look at your books, no charge. We take care of our own here. Throughout the day, more people came. Customers who've become family over the years, offering help, support, and their own expertise. The community my parents had built was rallying around their legacy. Lisa, meanwhile, was growing increasingly frustrated. Her lawyer's attempts to find flaws in the ownership transfer were going nowhere. The medical evaluations, the properly filed paperwork, the witnesses, everything was ironclad. One evening, about a month into the legal battle, she showed up at the restaurant just before closing. She'd lost weight, and her designer outfit looked rumpled, unlike her usual polished appearance. We need to talk, she said, sliding into a booth. I finished wiping down the last table before joining her. About what? This has to stop, Maya, she said, her voice tired. Do you have any idea what this is doing to my reputation? My career? People are talking. And what are they saying? She looked away. That I tried to sell out our family's legacy. That I disrespected our parents' wishes. She paused, that I'm exactly what you said, someone who forgot what family means. I studied my sister's face, seeing for the first time how much this fight had cost her, not just financially, but personally. Why did you do it? I asked quietly. Why try to sell this place so quickly after they died? She was silent for a long moment, tracing patterns on the worn tabletop. I thought I was doing the right thing, she finally said. The restaurant, it always seemed like a weight holding our family back. Mom and Dad worked so hard, such long hours. You wanted what? I wanted to free us from it, she admitted, to modernize, move forward. I thought if I could sell it for a good price, give you your share, we could both have better lives. But that wasn't your choice to make, I said gently. This place isn't just a business, Lisa. It's everything Mom and Dad built, everything they believed in. They chose to work those long hours because this was their dream. And now it's yours, she said, a hint of bitterness in her voice. It could have been ours, I corrected. They would have wanted that. They still left you a share, you know. Just not controlling interest. She looked up sharply. What? I reached beneath the counter and pulled out another set of documents, ones I'd been holding onto since opening the safe. 20% ownership. They never wanted to cut you out completely. They just wanted to protect the restaurant's future. Lisa took the papers with trembling hands. Why didn't you show me these before? Because you weren't ready to see them, I said simply. You were too angry, too focused on destroying everything instead of understanding why it mattered. She read through the documents slowly, her eyes filling with tears. I really messed up, didn't I? Yes, I agreed. But it's not too late to fix it. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Lisa withdrew her lawsuit, fired her lawyers, and formally acknowledged my majority ownership of the Golden Dragon. But more importantly, she started showing up at the restaurant, not to fight, but to learn. Show me, she said one morning, rolling up the sleeves of her expensive blouse. Show me what you do here. So I did. I taught her how to make Mom's dumplings, showed her Dad's system for inventory, introduced her to the regular customers she'd never bothered to know. Slowly, I watched my sister rediscover the place she'd dismissed for so long. 6 months after our parents' funeral, we stood together in the restaurant's kitchen, preparing for the evening rush. Lisa had traded her corporate suits for comfortable clothes that could handle the heat and bustle of restaurant work. She wasn't there every day. She still had her other career. But she found a way to be part of what our parents had built. You know, she said, expertly folding dumplings like Mom had taught us years ago. I get it now. Why they chose you for this. You didn't just learn the recipes and the business. You understood what it meant to them. I nodded, chest tight with emotion. They wanted someone who would preserve not just the restaurant, but its heart. And you have, she said softly. They would be proud of you, Maya. Of both of us, maybe. That evening, as the restaurant filled with familiar faces and the sounds of laughter and conversation, I looked around at what our parents had created. The Golden Dragon wasn't just surviving. It was thriving, carrying forward the legacy of family, tradition, and love they built it on. Lisa caught my eye from across the room, where she was chatting with Mrs. Zhang. She smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine like moms used to be. We had found our way back to being sisters, different but stronger together. Your parents are smiling down on this, Mrs. Zhang told me later, patting my hand. They knew what they were doing when they chose you. Both of you, she added, nodding toward Lisa. She was right. Mom and Dad had seen what we could be, not just individual daughters pursuing separate paths, but sisters carrying forward their dream together. It had taken loss, conflict, and nearly losing everything to help us see it too. The restaurant was more than just a business or a building. It was a bridge between past and present, between tradition and progress, between the sisters we had been and the women we had become. Every dish we served, every customer we welcomed, every tradition we honored was a tribute to the love that had built it all. As I locked up that night, the street quiet except for the distant sounds of the city, I felt their presence strongly. Mom's gentle wisdom, Dad's patient strength. It lived on in every corner of this place, in every lesson they taught us. Lisa waited for me outside, 2 cups of tea in her hands. To Mom and Dad, she said, offering me one. To family, I added, taking the cup. We stood there together, sipping tea in the cool evening air. 2 sisters who had found their way back to what mattered most. The Golden Dragon glowed softly behind us, a beacon of hope and home, just as our parents had always meant it to be.